Today we're looking at a piece by Tinashe Peter titled, Erica Kirk Should Sue Candace into Oblivion.
Right.
It's a commentary analyzing that cease and desist order sent to Candace Owens about her conduct toward the Kirk family. And there's a lot of passion here, a lot of fire, but we need to see if the structure is actually, supporting the argument.
Or if it's kind of collapsing under its own emotion. We want to move this from a rant, which, feels good to write, to a persuasive critique that actually changes minds.
Yeah, and it's a heavy topic. You've got grief, legal threats, spiritual warfare. It's all in there.
It is.
So let's look at the architecture first.
Right.
Right now, the draft is built on this slow burn. It opens with this theological reflection about people being walking curses and testing character.
Okay.
Then it gets to the news of the cease and desist. After that, a long emotional section built around the word stop.
Right.
And then finally, way at the end, we get the actual concrete evidence of harm.
And that's where I think the piece really shoots itself in the foot.
Because the evidence is buried?
It's not just buried, it's practically invisible. The writer says that millions of people are still falling for this trap.
Right, that's the target audience.
So if the goal is to reach those people, the ones on the fence, starting with a spiritual monologue about walking curses is, it's a filter. You're telling them this is a sermon, not this is breaking news about harassment.
And the stuff at the end is actually pretty shocking. I mean, we're talking about collateral damage that I don't think the average person even knows about.
Exactly. The text mentions a young boy at Utah Valley University who was falsely accused and harassed. And a man arrested for threatening Seth Dillon. I mean, that is the smoking gun. That is explosive, objective evidence of real-world danger.
It justifies the title.
It totally justifies Sue into oblivion. But by putting it at the very end, it feels like an afterthought. It just feels like a footnote.
It's the difference between saying, I don't like her spirit, and
she is causing people to get arrested.
Yeah.
One is an opinion. The other is a legal fact. If you start with the opinion, you lose the people who are looking for the fact.
So the fix here is a hard inversion. We need to, flip the whole pyramid.
Lead with the specific high-stakes consequences. Imagine if the script opened with that. Just forget the whole, I wasn't expecting to get back into this preamble.
So just jump right in?
Jump right in with the Turning Point USA cease and desist and immediately link it to the victim.
Okay, so it might sound something like, yesterday, a cease and desist was served. And this isn't just about hurt feelings or internet drama.
Right.
This is about a boy at Utah Valley University who was harassed because of a false accusation. This is about the man arrested for threatening Seth Dillon.
See how much heavier that feels? You hook the listener with the gravity of the situation.
Yeah.
You aren't asking them to agree with your theology yet. You're just asking them to look at the body count. You are saying this is a legal matter because real people are being threatened.
It also sets up the Alex Jones comparison much better. The text references that $1.5 billion judgment later on.
Which is a brilliant comparison, by the way. Just brilliant. But it needs to be earned.
Okay.
If you connect that judgment directly to the Utah student and Seth Dillon in the first 2 minutes, you're actually building a legal argument. You're saying this behavior leads to billion-dollar consequences. But if you start with, she's a basket case, or spirit of Canada, it sounds like a personal beef.
Right, it's just opinion.
Start with the victims and the legal precedent, and it sounds like a forensic analysis. It validates the Sue into oblivion title immediately.
It does. It stops being hyperbole and starts being a strategy.
Exactly.
Okay, to pull off that kind of serious, forensic opening, the voice has to match. And right now, the tone is, it's a bit colorful.
Colorful is a very polite way to put it.
We've got Candida Scamus, O Candida, Juicy Smollier.
And calling the whole thing a basket.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. The writer clearly wants to take the moral high ground. They're defending a widow against what they call an assassination.
Which is deadly serious.
Incredibly serious. But when you pivot from assassination to calling someone Juicy Smollier, you get this massive tonal whiplash.
It feels like the writer is just venting, not reporting.
Exactly. It frames the speaker as a petty rival, not a serious comment. And again, you have to think about the audience. If you're trying to convince someone that this person is a trap and a demonic influence, you have to sound more mature than the person you're criticizing.
The name-calling just lowers you to their level.
It gives the audience permission to dismiss you as just another hater.
So we need to shift from, playground insults to something else entirely.
I call it
Clinical condemnation.
Clinical condemnation. I like that.
Let the severity of the facts speak for themselves. You don't need to call her Candace Owens to prove she's a scammer.
Right.
You prove she's a scammer by listing the lies. The nickname actually softens the blow because it just makes it sound like a joke.
Okay, so take the line, "Oh, Candida has officially received a Turning Point USA cease and desist."
Now compare that to, Owens has been served legal notice for her alleged harassment.
It sounds colder.
Colder, more professional. It sounds like a judge speaking, not a YouTuber. Frankly, it sounds way more threatening.
What about that Juicy Smolier comparison?
I'd cut it. The line references Jussie Smollett, implying a hate crime hoax.
Which the audience might get, yeah.
They might, but it feels like an internet meme. It feels a little cheap. The text also references Alex Jones. Stick to that one.
Why that one?
Because the Alex Jones comparison relies on legal precedent, on defamation consequences. It grounds the argument in the courtroom, not the comment section.
Okay, that makes sense. There's another section that jumps out tonally. It's when the writer describes the kind of lawyer they want Erica Kirk to hire.
Ah, yes.
They ask for a Ben Shapiro-level Jewish lawyer with the Star of David on his yarmulke.
It's a very vivid image. I mean, I know exactly what they are picturing.
But
it does border on caricature. It's framed as a prior, but it reads almost like a comedy sketch. If the goal is to defend Erica Kirk's honor, I think framing this legal defense as a serious necessity is much better than making it a visual gag.
keep the focus on her protection.
Exactly. You can keep the desire for a shark of a lawyer, someone ruthless and brilliant. But stripping away the caricature makes the defense feel more robust. You want the audience nodding in agreement, not just chuckling at a stereotype.
Okay, so let's look at the middle of the transcript. We've established the stakes, we've cleaned up the tone, but then we hit this loop, the stop section.
The frustration loop. I know
The speaker repeats, "Stop, I would like for it to stop," and "just stop" over and over again while talking about the widow's request for privacy.
And I get the emotion. I really do. The writer is channeling the exhaustion of the family.
For sure.
But from a structural point of view, that kind of repetition, it just kills momentum. It becomes circular.
Yeah.
It expresses that the writer is frustrated, but it doesn't move the argument forward. It doesn't explain why the subject won't stop or what will make her stop.
It kind of assumes the subject even cares about being asked to stop.
And all the evidence in the text, the Utah student, the Seth Dillon threats, prove she doesn't care. So asking her to stop over and over feels, well, futile.
So how do we fix that? The emotion is valid, but the execution is just stalling out.
You transform the repetition into a ladder of escalation.
A ladder, okay.
Instead of just saying stop 3 times, you describe the 3 stages of refusal.
So the first rung is the plea itself?
Right. We asked her to stop out of respect. That's the personal plea.
And she ignored it.
She refused and doubled down. That's the second rung, the rejection of that plea.
And the third rung is the consequence.
Now, the law will force her to stop. You see the difference? You aren't just repeating a word. You are telling the story of why the lawsuit is inevitable. You're moving from the personal to the refusal to the legal.
This feels like the perfect place to bring in that Macrone case the text mentioned.
Yes, I was hoping we'd get to that. The text says there's already the Macrone case because we don't talk about Bruno.
It's just thrown away as a side comment.
It is, but it's crucial context. It's the precedent.
Right. If that case shows a history of this kind of behavior, you have to spotlight that. Explain the Macrone case. Use it to prove a pattern of behavior.
Don't just tell us she won't stop. Show us. Show us that historically she never stops until she's forced to. It turns a complaint into evidence. It answers the question, why do we need to sue her into oblivion? Because look at what happened in the Macrone.
That tightens the middle section a lot. But we still have this overarching issue of the dual lenses. I mean, the writer is clearly coming from a faith-based perspective.
Which is their brand. And that's totally fine. But it gets messy when it mixes with the legal analysis.
It really does oscillate wildly. One second we're on financial recovery and cease and desist, and the next it's about a spirit of confusion or an agent of light.
It confuses the call to action. The text says, lawsuits, let them fly, which is a call for secular civil justice.
Uh-huh.
But it also focuses heavily on praying for the subject soul to return to sender. So what is the solution here? Is it a lawsuit or is it an exorcism?
The audience might get lost.
It just dilutes the power of both arguments. When you mix them in the same sentence, like hoping the lawyer is a Jew so God can deliver justice, It muddies the water. It makes the legal threat sound spiritual and the spiritual threat sound legal.
So we need to chapter this.
Compartmentalize. Establish the legal reality first. Talk about the cease and desist, the harassment, the Alex Jones financial ruin, all of it. Finish that argument completely. Convince us that legally she is toast.
And then pivot.
Then, and only then, do you bring in the spiritual framework. Conclude with the spiritual interpretation as the so what.
There's a line in the text that says, "This is a moment of celebration. God gives us chance after chance."
That's your transition point. Put a hard divider right there. Everything before that is the case for the prosecution. Everything after is the sermon.
It clarifies the role of the lawyer, too.
Exactly. Frame the lawsuit as the secular mechanism. The lawyer does the legal work. God does the spiritual work. Keep them distinct so the audience knows which battle is being fought where.
And that brings us to the ending. The current ending is a bit of a mix. We have a buy me a coffee solicitation right next to a prayer for the subject to know the true living God.
Yeah, that's a real tonal crash. You go from savory eternal soul to Venmo me $5. It just takes all the air out of the room.
But there is a really strong comparison the writer makes near the end. He is not a king, referring to the White House, versus the true king.
That is the ending. That's the climax of the whole piece.
So cut the coffee solicitation?
Or just move it. Put it way earlier or in the description notes, but end the piece on that true king comparison. It solidifies the spiritual worldview as the finale. If the piece ends with that kind of high-level spiritual authority, it leaves the listener with a sense of peace and resolution. It elevates the whole commentary from a YouTube rant to a moral statement.
Tanashi, you have a deep expertise in this source material. You know the lore, you know the players, and you clearly have the passion. But right now, the structure is fighting against you.
We aren't trying to change your mind or your facts. We're just trying to sharpen the blade.
By moving that Utah Valley story to the front, you hook us with danger, not just theology.
By dropping the Candida Scamus stuff, you sound like an expert, not a troll. You become the adult in the room.
By breaking up that stop loop with the Micronome case, you prove your point instead of just repeating it.
And by separating the legal argument from the spiritual one, you give both of them the space to land.
We'd love to see a version of this script where you make those changes, especially that opening. I think leading with the victims changes the entire DNA of the piece for the better.
It turns it into investigative journalism. I would definitely listen to that.
So give it a shot. Rewrite the open, scrub the nicknames, and let us see what you come up with. Submit it back to us when you're done. We want to see how this evolves.
Can't wait to read it.
That's it for this critique. Get to work.